Welcome back, Geshe-la. We are very happy to welcome you for this third session with the sadhana of the Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga and these wonderful, marvelous teachings and explanations that you can give us and inspire us to be starting doing this practice, which we are really about to do in October. Andrea and I will start up a little group around that. So thank you very much. The inspiration is well received. And also wanting to say that Geshe-la is a very familiar face to LamRim, this center in Zurich, because he was the very first teacher giving teachings to the center even before it was actually really established, had a name or anything. It was just a wonderful moment having Geshe-la here. I wish I could have been there, but I joined later. However, Geshe-la is here, and welcome to everybody. New faces, new familiar faces. I'm so pleased to see you all. And I will pass on the word to Geshe-la. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your kind, nice words. And thank you everyone for joining. And of course, it's good evening there. And I can see some students from state are also joining. So here, good morning, afternoon, depending on where you are, here. So again, I would like to start as usual with trying to quiet your mind by watching your breath mindfully for a few moments. Then we can try to have a good intention, motivation, for example, by thinking, feeling, by us coming here together, giving our precious time with the best intentions. And those teachings be able to inspire us to engage in the practice. And may we be able to receive all the blessings of all the gurus, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas. So our mind can be transformed into the Dharma. And the practice of our Dharma transformed into Bodhisattva's practice, Mahayana practice, driven by great compassion, love, bodhicitta mind. And a blessing to clear whatever obstacles there might be, external, internal, secret obstacles that we might encounter in our path, in our practice. And may it be cause and conditions to actualize all the realizations of the graduate path within our mind stream and mind stream of all sentient beings. And may it be cause and conditions to actualize our highest potential, the fully awakened state, as soon as possible, so we can be greatest health benefit to each and every sentient being. Okay, so let's do refuge and Bojida prayers. Sangye Chodang Soge Sonam La Chanju Padu Dane Kasuje Dagi Shirishiki Besonam Gi Dola Penje Sangye Doba Sangye Chodang Soge Sonam La Chanju Padu Dane Dagi Shirishiki Besonam Gi Dola Penje Sangye Doba Sangye Chodang Soge Sonam La Chanju Padu Dagi Shirishiki Besonam Dola Penje Sangye Doba. So I'm extremely happy to hear the announcement Lars made that in October, Lars and Andrea is helping to lead the practice itself, the Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, the practice. So I'm very, very happy to hear and see that happening. So not only we receive the teaching, but actually trying to practice. And when you actually practice, then you will begin to feel and begin to see the benefit of it. And so thank you for both of you for offering to lead the practice. So I think, at least you have some kind of, you get to have some taste of what this practice is. And then you can see whether it fits you or not, whether it connects you or not, whether it's beneficial or not, all of that. But first you have to try and see and what the practice is about. And like with every practice, of course, you need to give a bit of time to really see the benefit of it. In one session, 2 sessions, is not going to happen, it takes time. Even in ordinary things, when I first came to New Mexico, and I didn't like the New Mexican food at all, now I miss so it takes time to get a taste to get used to the new taste, something that new taste. And this is just a very ordinary things, if that's the case, it's definitely in terms of practice. We need to get enough time to do the practice to really then to really feel and see the benefit of that in any practice. And definitely that is one thing I just wanted to kind of share. And so we have been discussing on Guru Yoga, and not only Guru Yoga, a particular Guru Yoga of Lama Tsongkhapa. And as I mentioned in the past, Guru Yoga is very important practice in Mahayana, and especially in the Vajrayana, And in the Mahayana, the very beginning practice is the Guru Yoga, the kind of Guru Yoga. If you see, when you study the LamRim, it starts with the Guru devotions, That's the very beginning, the first practice of the whole LamRim start from there. And especially in Vajrayana, whatever sadhana, whatever practice we do, always start with Guru Yoga. Sometimes there's a long Guru Yoga with all the lineage Guru. Sometimes it is a short Guru Yoga. But, it always, the starting is, the actual practice starting with Guru Yoga. And then in Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, we at the very beginning, we discussed a little bit about the kind of the preliminary practices. And then after preliminary practice, the actual practice of this Guru Yoga. And that we're starting with, visualizing the merit field, of Lama Tsongkhapa, two sons, and then also visualizing the Tushita, material pure land of the Tushita, and then from the heart of Tushita, material Buddhas, then invoking Lama Tsongkhapa, two sons, and then after we invoke from the Tushita, and then that observe into the Lama Tsongkhapa, two sons that we have visualized in front of us, and and also from others, all the Buddha's blessings invoke in the form of Lama Tsongkhapa Tusan and observe into them and dissolve into them, become all one, And Lama Tsongkhapa, who is, not separate from our root guru, who is one in just a different form, in that form of Lama Tsongkhapa. And then, then we need to, in order to, in order to have our meditation to become more successful with less obstacles, then we need to purify and accumulate merit. And in order to purify and accumulate merit, then we need a merit field. So that is why we visualize merit field. And also, then we, in order to create merit, and therefore, we request Guru Lama Tsongkhapa and two sons to remain until the samsara ends, or as long as one sentient being, as long as one sentient being is still in the samsara. So I think we finished up to that, up to that, as I said, among us, the seven limb practice, as we discussed little more in the last week, it's like in our body, we have many different limbs. And when all these are there, it makes us easy to do a lot of things. But if one of them missing, then we become a little bit handicapped, to do more things. In the same way, when all seven limbs come together, our practice becomes much more extensive, much more broad. It kind of, it comprises everything, all the many different practices. And when each of those are missing, then the practice becomes a little bit kind of like handicap, not as broad as it can be. And so that is the seven limb. And in terms of seven limb, then we finish. And then next one is the where we are now, frustrations, the practice of frustration is to purify negative karma, that whatever with negative karma we have created, the delusion, obscuration, as well as to create merit, so it does both purification and accumulation of merit. And then in Tibetan, actually the word for the frustration is called chak sel, chak and sel, there's two words. And chak means, kind of purifying, So it is kind of purifying, cleansing and purifying the negative energies. Sel means kind of something you wish. So you desire to have the realizations, the blessing and the realizations, So that has the meaning in Tibetan when the chak sel for the frustrations. But basically, it is kind of, paying a respect and bowing with a respect, paying homage and bowing with a respect, and again, there are many forms of frustrations, full place prostration, half prostration, just folding your hand and bowing down. So they are, and in terms of paying homage or prostrating to the body, speech, and mind. In terms of the body, then you bow down, and in terms of the prostrating through the speech, then you are reciting the prayers or the name of the enlightened beings, the Buddhas, or whether the praise to the holy objects, the Buddhas, so that is. And in terms of the mind, prostrating with the mind is, by recollecting the objects, holy objects, incredible positive qualities and kindness, and then trying to cultivate a strong respect, devotion, faith. So that is, so we try to, when we do prostration, we try to bring all three together, body, speech, and mind together, to do prostration with the body, speech, and mind together, if possible. So here, as you see the verse for prostration here, of course, when we prostrate, we can use different verses, but here it is we use that verses as it is here. Your holy mind has the intelligence that understands the full extent of object to be known. So that is the quality of the mind of the Guru Lama Tsongkhapa, so recollecting, remembering. And your holy speech with the excellent explanation is an ear ornament for those with good fortune. So that is recollecting, remembering the incredible virtuous qualities of the Guru Lama Tsongkhapa speech. And your holy body is radiantly beautiful with the glory, renown, and then recollecting, remembering the positive qualities of physical body, and then that to you, Guru Lama Tsongkhapa, and to son, who are meaningful to see, to see your body, hear your speech, and remember and recollect your holy inner realizations of the mind. And by remembering that, then I make a prostrate, pay homage, So again, recollecting and remembering. In terms of remembering and recollecting the incredible quality of the mind, enlightened mind of Guru Lama Tsongkhapa, the main qualities is the quality of wisdom, knowledge, whatever you call wisdom or knowledge, and the quality of, incredible kindness or compassion, bodhicitta, and the ability, those things. And here, particularly mentioning the qualities of the wisdom, knowledge, and that is because, again, even though it's mentioning the wisdom, knowledge, but it also means remembering the Guru Lama Tsongkhapa's enlightened, compassionate qualities, and the power, the ability, as well, the mental ability or the power, So by remembering that, and in terms of the speech, maybe the way the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, our teachers, gurus can help us is through explaining the teachings, showing us the path. That is how they really help, guide us, show us the path, how to do it. And so Lama Tsongkhapa, through his explanation, even though we haven't met him directly in the past, but his teachings are there for us to study, learn, and through that, indirectly, we are still hearing his speech and learning, through what he had left behind, the 18 volumes of gems, his writing are gems, like jewel in gems, incredible, some of them, that the clarity that he had in some of the difficult topics, subjects, whether it's Tantra, whether it's Sutra, he has really clarified with the reasoning, logics, and as well as rely on other earlier teachings. And for us who have good fortune, we have this. We are able to listen to those teachings, able to study those teachings, and able to practice through those teachings. So we are extremely fortunate. We are extremely fortunate. There is a mentioning, stories of, one of the Mongolian person, asked one of the great master, Penchen, one of the Penchen Lama, Penchen Losang Yeshe, at the end of his life, can you pray for me to have a higher rebirth, better future life? And Penchen Lama said, kindly accept it, I can do that. Can you please pray for me to meet the Dharma, not only human life, but to meet the Dharma? And he said, I will do that. I can do that. And he said, can you please pray for me to meet the Lama Tsongkhapa's teachings? And Penchen Lama said, that I'm not so sure. He said, I will pray, but you, from your side, you need a lot of merit to meet the Lama Tsongkhapa's teachings. That is combined of, both Sutra, Tantra, and where Lama Tsongkhapa has clarified those some of mistaken in the past or doubt through his own studies, through his own practice, and also relying on by depending on so many teachers. He had teachers, so many teachers from all different lineages. He had so many different teachers of all different lineages, and he studies, not only just from what they mastered, but he studied all the extensively the Indian masters' writings extensively, and then some of things that there is no clarity through practice meditations, as well as by relying on the Manjushri advice and so. So he has, some of the misunderstanding, some of the unclear doubt. He had made it much more clear, and so therefore, it's rare to be able to hear and study that kind of teaching. So that is why it is here. That is why it's mentioned the good fortune. Those who are able to study and hear and practice and study, then it's a good fortune. And your holy body right in there, and then Lama Tsongkhapa is kind of, it is, even though he was highly developed practitioner, not only from Sutra point of view, even Tantric point of view, who have developed, who have actualized the two stages of practice, generation and completion stage, who have reached that. And so even though internally his realization very high, but externally he show very humility, very humble, and very subdued. Sometimes what happens is, when you have those high realization, then, you act a little bit kind of, you're crazy, Crazy wisdom. You have heard about some terms people using crazy wisdom. And sometimes highly realized people who have those kind of crazy wisdom, their act can also, for ordinary people, they might also look like a crazy. And looking crazy, even though they are not crazy, but because of the behavior is like crazy, it can give a misunderstanding, misperception to a lot of other people as well. People can misunderstand such behavior, and so therefore, but Lama Tsongkhapa, he never showed that. even though he had reached that point, but his behavior and actions is very subdued, following the Buddha's Vinaya, the rules, regulation. And because of that, that is the glory, body, that is the glory. So whenever anyone met him, whenever he seen, they feel that subdued energy, that compassionate energy. And they were very attracted towards him and at his time, and also continue, because of that. So that is what, there are certain things, like, when you see it, you feel the energy and you just want to be there. You just want to be there with that energy. You just want to look at that. Such is the enlightened energy of that. Like, for example, sometimes, when you look at His Holiness Dalai Lama, you just feel like you just want to look at him all the time, be there all the time, There is that kind of energy, that you get, kind of positive energy, make your mind calm, peaceful, subdue, and I was sharing, and there's also with a certain holy image, also there are certain like that. Of course, if you are enlightened, you will feel with all the holy image, like that way. But like whether it's statues, Thanga, or whatever, if you are enlightened, then you will feel that same without any discriminations. But when you are not enlightened, then you with a certain image you feel that, and certain image you might not feel that way, But there is, and I remember, the statue of Buddha Shakyamuni in Bodh Gaya, the main temple. At one time I was there for 3 months, not 3 months, 2 months and maybe 10 or 20 days. And every morning, because we used to do some practice there, and every morning I used to go and pay homage in that shrine and that. And you look at it, and you just feel never kind of, you don't want to live, you just want to be there whole day, you just want to look at that the whole day. There is some kind of energy, kind of peaceful, calming, positive, and if that is just a statue, you can imagine when you actually see in person, so anyway, so that is what. And so with that kind of recollecting, remembering all these positive qualities, then we pay homage and prostrate. Okay. If you can get up and you can do prostration, or while you recite this verse with your hand folded, you can just bow down and prostrate in that way. Okay. And then next is the offerings. Again, the advice they give, if you to do the offering, if you want to do more extensive, then you do blessing, multiplying, and then present the offering. Details, then there is, you can go page number 27. It gives more details, if you want to do a more extensive one. But of course, here we do the short one as it is. And then in terms of here, blessing, drinking waters, various flowers, so you can think of making offerings, the washing water, water to wash the hand, feet, and face, and that, and then the water that has some kind of minerals and feeling or soothing, just by washing it, healing and soothing, and then drinking water, delicious, and again medicine, become wish by drinking, it become medicinal, that kind of drinking water with all these kind of qualities, then various flowers, flowers like in the garden, flowers that bunches of flowers, garlands of flowers, all kind of flowers that you can imagine, that you can see, all kind of beautiful flowers, fragrant incense, and whatever fragrant incense, whether it is a natural fragrant incense that you find naturally in the forest, some of those, especially in the Himalayas, you find, some of them very, very, very nice smells, extremely, all made by, you put together many substances and you make a fragrant incense, light, different form of light, whether it's light or butter lamps, or is a light from the sun, moon, whether it's a light from the jewels, whatever form of different lights that you see in the world, you can, all kind of lights, scented water, So again, also in terms of scented water, there are, again, sometimes you find natural scented liquids, or, human-made, we made from many different substances and frequent scented waters, and so forth, such as offering of the food, drinks, food, all kind of food, especially the food that you like, especially the food you are attached to. So, the food, the water you are attached to, the flower you are attached to, the incense you are attached to, the scent you are attached to, the food you are attached to, and music that you are attached to, all different music, soothing and nice. And when you hear the music, it inspires you to practice. It kind of make your mind peaceful, calm, soothing, that kind of music. And so we try to offer all of that, Oceans of cloud-like offerings, the ocean of cloud-like offering, meaning, like extensive, filling the whole space. Both actually arranged and mentally imitated. So whatever offering you have arranged on your altar, you can think of that, offering that, and then you can mentally imagine or mentally emanate and visualize whole space filled with all those different offerings, especially those different kind of offering objects that you are attached to, and making offering to them. I offer to you, so to you, Lama Tsongkhapa, Guru Lama Tsongkhapa, and the two sons, the supreme field of merit. And Guru Lama Tsongkhapa is the supreme field of merit, Guru is the supreme field of merit, so from where we can create huge amount of merit. So mentally we can imagine, whatever offering you can arrange in your altar, that's wonderful. You can try to, whether it's a water bowl, light, incense, food, music, or whatever other offerings you want to offer, you can arrange, you can offer, and then you can mentally imagine. Even you are unable to arrange all this offering, again, when you do practice, you can mentally visualize, imagine the whole space filled with those offerings and making those offerings. And it's like the offering like Samanvadara, Bodhisattva Samanvadara. And it said that you see in King of Prayer mentioning of that. And the Bodhisattva's Samanvadara offering is, he make offerings from his heart. He hold a jewel, one jewel, and from that jewel, light radiate, and then, manifest into two jewels, and from 2, 4, from 4, 8 to 16, and then whole space filled with that. So that is basically, and you can do with each of those offerings, filled with all that, and then we can imagine also making offerings of the 8 auspicious substance, auspicious signs, the 7 precious, and all of that. You can imagine, and making offerings in that way. And the more extensive you are able to imagine and visualize, the more merit we create. And so, so try to utilize the opportunity to create the merit as much as possible, as we mentioned before, whenever you get opportunity, So to make offerings, of course, when we can try to make actual offerings. But if you don't have actual offering, it doesn't mean you cannot do the practice of offering and create merit. It all depends on whether you are willing to do or not. I don't think there is. Adisha mentions one time, when he came to Tibet, when he saw so much beautiful natural flowers into the hills, in the mountains, and such a pure waters, coming from the mountain sources. And he said, in Tibet, you have all this wonderful to offer, those flowers, those waters, and you should utilize it. You have such, and just that is the advice he gave. So no matter where we are, we will have water too. And even if we don't have the other things to do, we should. There is a story of the great master and practitioner and city, Gele Gyaso, Kedu Gele Gyaso, and then Longdong Lama Rinpoche, when they were studying in the monastery, they were very poor, they didn't have much, And so since they didn't have water bowls, they didn't even have 7 water bowls. So then they used the cup, the bowl, the cup they use for drinking and eating. They wash it very well, and they make offering of the water there. And when they need to use to drink and eat, they will take it down, ask permission from the holy objects to use it, and they will use it for drinking and eating, and then they wash very well, and after that finish again they do offering. So if you have the will, you are not restricted by how much you have or you don't have external things. It's all if you have the faith and the willpower and the inspiration to do that, then even with your cup, you can use that to utilize it to do that. Even if you don't have so many other offerings, at least that, so that is, and these are the stories of those great masters, but at the same time, those are teaching for us. It's not just a story. It is a teaching for us, something that we can learn, inspire, and so. And then after you do the offerings, then again, mentally you visualize, you offer to the, Guru Lama Tsongkhapa and Tusan, and they delightfully accept it. You visualize they accepted your offerings as you made it. And by having experienced that offering, they accept and experiencing that, then great bliss and voidness increase in their mind. So you can imagine and visualize that. It helps, So again, those offerings are not something that the Buddha needs or Guru Lama Tsongkhapa needs or Buddhas and Bodhisattvas need, but it's a way for us to create merit. It's the way to train our mind, to give, to share, to offer. It's not that Lama Tsongkhapa is going to be more happy if you make that offering, and he's not being unhappy if you don't make that offering. Same with the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. From their side, there's no difference. As is mentioned for the Buddhas, someone trying to praise from one side and someone criticizing from another side, his love, compassion, reaction is the same. Equally, treat equally. someone trying to, feed him, and someone trying to harm him from another side, for him, same equal compassion, equal love, equal treatment. So that doesn't, whether we make offering or not make offering, or whether we make good offering, not good offering, from their side, there's no difference at all. It's not that they are not going to be displeased or unhappy, or that because you didn't make offerings, That could happen to ordinary protectors, like some ordinary protectors, and that will be the case because they are still ordinary like us with the delusions. And of course, we are happy when someone offers, and we are not so happy when they don't offer. So there is a difference. When someone on your birthday, someone bring you a gift, you are very appreciative and happy. Someone forgot about your birthday, and you think, he or she doesn't care about me. He or she doesn't even remember my birthday. That means he or she doesn't care about me. He or she doesn't love me. Otherwise, how can he forget me? How come that he didn't send me a note, or how come that he didn't send a gift? So that is our ordinary reactions, because we still have delusion. But those who are free from the delusions, that is not. But the reason is not because of them, but because for our own training the mind, to train our mind. That's why we do. It's to train our mind, and create the magic that we need, to do, transform our mind and to have the realizations from our practice and meditations. So that is the offering. And then next one is confessions, the purifications, So here the verse here is that whatever non-virtues of body, speech, and mind, so what we try to recollect and remember, whatever, non-virtues that we have created through body, such as killing, intentionally killing, stealing, engaging in sexual misconduct, with a speech, lying, engaging in harsh speech, divisive speech, and meaningless idle gossips, and then through mind and covetousness, ill will feelings, wrong views, whatever negative karma or non-virtue we might have created, either through body, speech, and mind in this life and in all past. Especially three opposite to the vows, or whatever, whatever negative karma that we have created by breaking the vows, whatever vows, whether it's a Pratamosha vow or individual liberation vows, such as the lay vows and the ordinations. Or if someone, on top of that, if someone is saying Bodhicitta vows, on top of that, if you're taking the tantric vows, so those are three kinds of the vows, especially that with negative karma created by breaking them, not being able to keep them and breaking them. And that I have collected from beginnings in terms of the time. So we try to recollect whatever we have created in this life as much as we can recollect. And then, even though we cannot recollect all the negative karma that were created in the past, but also we try to feel, whatever I have created in the past, knowingly, unknowingly, due to either anger, due to either attachment, or due to either ignorance, or either due to all of them, whatever negative karma I have created, I understand there are many negative karma I have created that has not been purified, even though some have been purified by experiencing it, even though some of them might have been purified through a practice of purification, but there are still many negative karma imprint in my mind still that has not been purified. And if I don't purify them, then they can manifest as in the form of obstacles, external, internal, different obstacles that create problem in our life and obstacle for our spiritual path for our practice meditations, you know, by understanding that, and then, you know, with a strong regret, remorse for having created such negative karma, have engaged in such unwholesome actions, non-virtuous actions, you know, with a strong remorse, you know, then, you know, we confess, I confess each and every one with a fervent regret from my heart, you know. So then from your heart, deeply regret, you know. For example, they give you an example, you know, for if you have eaten some poisonous food, so now you will regret and you will try to get rid of it as soon as possible in whatever way. Same way, you know, trying to cleanse and purify as quick as possible and making a strong determinations not to create such a non-virtuous, unwholesome, negative karma or actions in the futures. And then as a way of purifying, way to purify, then, you know, whatever virtues we engage into, you know, as an antidote to that, engage in any of the virtues, you know, whatever kind of virtue we engage in that. So basically, we try to apply what we call four open-end power: the open-end power of object, the open-end power of regret, open-end power of resolutions, and the open-end power of antidotes. So in terms of open-end power of the objects, at the very beginning, we took refuge and generate bodhicitta motivations. So that is the power of the object. And then by remembering the negative result of such a unwholesome, non-virtuous actions, then regretting it, that is another opening power. And then once you regret, making a strong determination or resolution not to create. And then, you know, engaging in something virtuous as a way to purify. And that is the opening power of the antidotes. So when we apply through those four opening power, if we do the purification, then it is mentioned there is no negative karma that cannot be purified if we do correctly, properly, with all four opening power. And so again, we try to utilize to do the purifications, you know. If we can try to do practice that every day, you know, either in the evenings, if possible, morning, that would be wonderful as well. So that is the, yeah. And if you want to do a little bit of visualization, then you can visualize from Lama Tsongkhapa, Guru Lama Tsongkhapa and two sons, you know, their enlightened, compassionate wisdom energy flow in the form of white light and nectar, you know, and then cleansing and purifying all the negative karma that we have created through body, speech, and mind, all the negative karma that we have created by breaking the vows, all the negative karma that we have created in relation to holy object, in relation to sentient beings, all the negative karma that we have created either through one of those three poisonous mind or attachment, anger, or ignorance, or all of them, you know, and cleansing and purifying all of them, and then feeling with a you know, total conviction, all of them are totally cleansed and purified, and there is not even any trace of that negative energy, that negative force. And so you can also do that visualization, you know, to help. So that is the purification that purified negative karma, delusion, obscurations, you know, clearing the obstacles, you know, because those negative karma create the obstacle on our path. And then rejoicing, you know, and rejoicing is another very powerful practice and tool to accumulate merit. And not only accumulate merit, as Lama Tsongkhapa said, you know, with a small effort, but the way to create an incredible amount of merit with a small effort, the supreme method is the rejoicing. Okay, and so here, so that is where rejoicing is a very powerful practice to, create merit, increase the merit. And in terms of rejoicing, then there is a practice, rejoicing your virtues of past, present, future, rejoicing the virtues of others, within the virtues of others, rejoicing the virtues of Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Arhat, those who are on the path, and rejoicing the virtues of all the ordinary beings as well. But here, particularly here, this particular verse is a rejoicing to the virtues, activities of Lama Tsongkhapa, or the virtuous qualities of Lama Tsongkhapa, Guru Lama Tsongkhapa. So that is here. So you strive for much learning and practice in this degenerate age. So what it means is, in a non-degenerate, in a good times, there are a lot of practitioners who study and practice together. There's so many people who are very spiritual, extremely spiritual, and who dedicate their life, fully dedicate their life in study and practice together, combining those together, all their life. But in degenerate time, we find very few of them, very little, who can dedicate their life to study and practice their whole life in the Dharma, But Lama Tsongkhapa, as it is said, there, Lama Tsongkhapa, him, as he himself has said in one of his prayers, his advice at the very beginning, try to do extensive study. And then in the middle, try to understand all the Buddha's teachings as instructions to transform our mind, not as just collecting informations, knowledge, but by seeing each and every teaching of the Buddhas, all of them as instructions, all of them as instructions to transform our mind. In the end, then day and night, put into the practice what you have studied, what you have learned. And then dedicate all the virtues for the benefit of all sentient beings, for the benefit of the teaching. So that is the, and not only he gave that advice, he himself went through that. He went by relying on so many teachers. He did extensive studies. Sometimes you wonder, it feels like when you read his writings and his reference on different sources of Indian teachings, and that it feels like, whole his life was dedicated in studying. That is all he did. And then when you, read about his practice, then it feels like whole his life he just practiced. And then when you see his writing, it seems like he has been writing all his life, But what I'm trying to say, he did extensive studies, and some of the things that he put in, even by discussing and with his teachers, even after having discussions and cautioning some of the points that he couldn't understand, even with all discussions and studies, sometimes certain points, there's some doubt, certain point, there's unclarity, then you try to engage in the practice of purification, accumulation, merit by relying on them. Again, he continues to study and comes and then have a deeper understanding and clarify some of the mistaking, and also relying on Manjushri as well. And then, he saw, even with all these studies and all with, it was not enough. You need to practice if you really want to transform your mind, change. And then, whatever he studies, he really put into the practice. And through that practice, combination of accumulation merit, purifications, rely on the Guru Yoga, and then meditating, contemplations. Through that, then he was able to develop all the realizations of the LamRim as well as the Tantric realizations of the two stages, able to do that. And therefore, he never felt studying and meditating or practice is contradictions, but they go in hand. Your study should support and help your meditation, and your meditation should inspire you to study more. But so that is the advice. Lama Tsongkhapa advice is to do both, study and practice, study and meditations together, combining. Because in the past, before Lama Tsongkhapa, even at Lama Tsongkhapa time, even now, some people, who thinks, oh, you don't need to study, it's a waste of time, you just meditate. Criticizing for studying, oh, why you are spending so much time on studying? You just need to meditate. That's all you need. Then there are others who think, oh, you have to study. All you need is study. All you need is knowledge. You need to gather you need to study, have all this knowledge, all the information, but it's not important to really put into the practice. And then again, criticizing the meditation or practice. But the Lama Tsongkhapa advice is that those should not be contradicting each other, but those should be supporting each other. Studying, supporting your practice, meditation supporting you to inspire to more studies, and that too, that. So that is what Lama Tsongkhapa himself did, and so we try to rejoice that, that his Lama Tsongkhapa incredible, extensive studies, intensive meditation practice. So that is, and you made your freedom and richness meaningful by abandoning the 8 worldly concerns, and also, Lama Tsongkhapa's, because of his practice, because of his meditation and practice, and because of his realization through those practices, he has given up 8 worldly concerns. He has no 8 worldly concerns. And for us, most difficult to give up is 8 worldly concerns. For some people, giving up materialistic things is difficult. For some people, that might not be so difficult to give up physical things, but it might be difficult to give up fame, reputations, praise, But Lama Tsongkhapa, through his practice, he gave up all of them. He was not interested in all of that. At Lama Tsongkhapa's time, the Chinese Empire, very powerful Chinese Empire, invited him to become his personal spiritual teachers. And even that, Lama Tsongkhapa was not interested. He ran away when the empire sent someone to request him, It is mentioned 2 times. First time they sent, someone to invite him with all the offerings that the empire sent him, the request, all the offerings, and Lama Tsongkhapa just ran away. Even didn't meet that, And then the second time again, they sent the empire sent the second time, and then some of his close disciples, teachers, and people around, they say, this time you have to meet him. You should meet him. So he gave opportunity to meet, and then they met, and then he respectfully, kindly, said, he cannot, but if he wants, then he can send. So he sent one of his disciples, who established the Sera monastery. He sent. So what I'm saying is, if someone is interested in power, money, reputation, who didn't want to be the spiritual teachers of the most powerful and wealthy empire, But that clearly shows he was not interested in all of that, And so that is why abandoning the 8 worldly concerns. By abandoning the 8 worldly concerns and by engaging in a lot of studies, and whatever you have studied, putting into the practice day and night, then Lama Tsongkhapa made his life, of freedom and richness, meaningful. His precious life made it meaningful. Not only meaningful for himself, but meaningful to be great inspirations and example for at his time and coming generations. And he continued to inspire us. He continued to be a great example for us and continue to be great benefit to us, And that great benefit, his example, his inspirations will continue for many, many coming generations, for many, many hundreds and thousands of years. The benefit that the other will receive, So, and with that, having cultivated that realizations, through that realization, then he composed, many, many books, 18 volumes. And as I mentioned, some of them are gems, great. You cannot find any clarity in any other writing than in certain points, in his writings. As His Holiness always mentioned, and if you study, one of the uniqueness of him is, the subject matter, when it's easy one, he doesn't go details. He just mentioned and he go quickly. But when it's a difficult point, when it has always been difficult point for a lot of the scholars, meditators, practitioners, where there's a little bit of confusion, where there's a little bit of doubt, where there's not so clarity, that's where he will go details. That is where he go, where the difficult points are, where the doubts are, where there is unclarity, then he will go depth in that by using his own reason, logic, and by relying on many other sources of teachings, so that's what he has left with us, Sylvia, we sincerely rejoice in your extensive deeds, and so we rejoice in Lama Tsongkhapa all these deeds, He established the biggest learning institution in Tibet. The biggest learning institution in Tibet was established in Lama Tsongkhapa, the great monasteries of learning, Ganden Monastery established by himself directly, Sera Monastery, Daegung monasteries established by his main disciple. He asked them to establish that. Tashi Lumbu Monastery established the first Dalai Lama, his main disciples. From the Sutra point of view, those are the greatest learning institutions, at least in Tibet. They were like the Nalanda institutions in India, and that was in Tibet, And then in terms of Tantra, Gyumed Tantric College, Gyumed Tantric College, again, started by, he asked his disciple, to start, and they started. So all these learning institutions, because not all the monastery actually study a lot. Many monasteries, small, they just do the rituals, So they don't have really, not necessarily they have a great understanding or depth understanding of Buddha Dharma. They just do rituals, perform rituals here and there. But Lama Tsongkhapa wanted to study depth and practice. And so that is all this. And not only he started that, by him starting that, it inspired many other lineages to also to start such a learning institutions as well, So therefore he has a great contributions in establishing such a learning place, very extensive and depth learning place of the Buddha Dharma, and we continue to receive the benefit of that, even in myself, If I was left in my home village, even I'm a monk, probably I will do some rituals, I will know rituals, but I wouldn't have depth understanding of the Buddha Dharma. But because I went to Kopan, which is a branch of Sera Monastery, where they also do the extensive study, and also I went to Sera, and so therefore, I had the opportunity, I have the fortune to be able to study, be around some of the greatest teachers, so many great teachers, and to be around so many students where you can discuss, talk, debate, So I will always feel very fortunate in that sense. And that is only happened because, so many teachers came from Tibet who are in those great monasteries, who bring their knowledge and experience and rebuild those learning institutions. And through that, even in our FPMT centers, we have the access to so much depth studies if you are interested. If anyone is interested, there are studies, from very basic to very, very, very extensive depth study. And that they are able to do that because of, again, those great monasteries, Sera, Ganden, Lha, and all. So Lama Tsongkhapa is in physically no more here, in ordinary physical. It has been more than 600 years, but it's still people are getting benefit from him, all of that from him, So that is his contribution to the world. That is the contribution here. Those are the great. In our world, we talk about one individual who started some of those greatest university. We hold very hard. They started those university. One university, but in his cases, some of the greatest Buddhist learning institutions, not just one, so many of them, and continue to receive. So those are his great, incredible contributions to the Dharma. So again, we can rejoice all of that, rejoice with the virtues of that. And I think rejoicing very, very, very important, I feel, especially for the Westerners. I'm talking about generally rejoicing in your own virtues and others' virtues. Okay. For some reasons, I don't know. For some reason, I don't know where it comes from. In the Western society in general. Of course, I'm not everyone, but in general, more on average, people seem to have more of self-loathing, self-hatred, bad image of themselves, about that problem seems to be more in Western society than in others. I don't know whatever it comes from, but that seems to be one of quite strong in many. And to counter that kind of bad feeling about I'm such a bad person, I'm such a useless person, I'm such a all this rejoicing can help to counter that mind as well, because when you do rejoicing, then you try to look at the positive side of yourself, your good side, your own strength. That's what rejoicing, your own strength, your own virtues, consciously, because that doesn't come automatically all the time. So you train your mind to see your virtues consciously and giving the time, Oh, did I have a good thought today? Oh, I had one good thought today. I was wishing something good for that person, this and that. I have a good feeling, I had a good thought, a virtuous thought. And like that, we might have some virtuous thought today. We might have done some practice in the morning, meditations. We might have done some practice, whether it's a, kind of depth practice meditation, or is it just a simple practice, such as just reciting mantras or setting up the altar, whatever, those. And so we give time to remember them and rejoicing in them. When you do that more and more with the time, then you started to be aware of your own good virtues and good things as well. So then even when you have negative feeling about you also have positive feeling about you. That can help you to balance. At the moment, when those negative thoughts come about ourselves, and we don't feel the good about ourselves, there's nothing we feel good about, because that we have not worked on that. Even though there are good things about us, but we have not really worked on that. So I feel that rejoicing, if we train our mind to do that, and then with the time, as we get good at that, then it can also be helpful. Not to talk about creating merit from the spiritual point of view, Dharma point of view, all of that, but even on a practical level, I think even with kind of trying to deal with that kind of negative mind, it can be helpful. It can be helpful to counter that kind of negative feelings, emotions of self-hatred, self-loathing, all of that. So that is rejoicing. And then requesting to return the wheel of the Dharma. And again, you can see there, if you want to do extensive purification, there's the meditation in page number 30. And if you want to do the extensive meditation on rejoicing, then on page number 32. So there's always, when you want to do more extensive practice of any of them, then you can always go to those pages and you can follow and do that. But otherwise, you just follow. When you don't have so much time, then you just do that. And one of the advices that Lama Tsongkhapa Rinpoche gave, whenever we do any practice in sadhana, he especially emphasized on doing a more extensive on offering and rejoicing that part. But again, definitely, if you have time, then definitely it is nice to do. And then turning the wheel of Dharma, perfect, pure, holy gurus from the billowing clouds of wisdom and compassion in the sky of Dharmakaya, please let fall a rain of profound and extensive Dharma, abounded receptacle of those to be subdued exactly as the need. So again, you can, so here again, we're saying, just as like from the sky, then, due to certain cause and conditions, it creates clouds. And through that clouds, then there's a rain. And having rain, then in the earth, then, the plants started to grow. The plants started to grow, which have already grown, get better and better, bigger and bigger. Same way, example, by using that, Guru Lama Tsongkhapa's, the pure, perfect, enlightened Guru Lama Tsongkhapa and two sons, through the Dharma, space of the Dharmakaya, sky of the Dharmakaya, then the clouds in the Dharmakaya, then the clouds of the wisdom and compassions created, So it is the clouds of compassion and wisdom, So you need a wisdom to be able to benefit and help according to the need of individuals. If you don't have the wisdom, then because your whatever method teachings you give, because it's not going to be the same effective for everyone, because everyone has different karma, different interests, different mind stream, different predispositions. So therefore, each sentient being has to be taught and led according to their needs, their capacity, their ability, their state. And to be able to do that, it requires a wisdom. It requires the wisdom. But even if you have the wisdom to do that, but if you don't have compassion, you will not do that. Even you have the capacity and ability to help someone, but if you don't have compassion, you will not be able to help. So you need the compassion. So you need both compassion and the wisdom in order to be greatest help and benefit to each and every sentient beings according to the need of each and every sentient beings. And therefore, through the cloud of compassion and wisdom, then requesting to rain, of the teachings, profound and, extensive, and the profound teaching on wisdom and extensive teaching on the method. And not only to teach, but according to the need of individual sentient beings, and so, and by through the raining of those teachings, then sentient beings study those teachings, not only study them, put whatever study into the practice, and having put those into the practice, then it started to grow the field of your mind stream, then it grows the plants of spiritual realization, spiritual experiences. So that is and so we make that request, and then when you do the request, you can visualize, in your Brahma form or in yourself, and then making the offering of Dharma will, making that with a golden, precious Dharma will, making that offerings to the Guru Lama Tsongkhapa and two sons, and they accept as your request delightfully, and then to teach as you requested. And so that is so doing requesting is a very powerful way, there is also teaching in that as well. Buddha, even after he's enlightened, he didn't taught for 49 days until he was requested. When when someone doesn't request, even you try to help, it might not become so helpful, beneficial, they are not ready. But when it comes from their side, then if you have something to share, then it sinks in their mind. It helps. So that is that part too. And also Buddha has given advice to his followers. Buddha himself did that and also his advice is, as you might have seen at the very beginning of LamRim as well, generally not to teach unless it is requested, So you can't go and just preach and kind of, trying to force on others, but it has to come from the other side, that there is interest and the request. And when there is interest, and from that interest, a request comes, and when you share it, then it really helps benefit them. And so there is that part, and also that tradition as well. So to keep that advice and tradition, that's why we try to do. Okay. Yeah, I think someone has shared about that, where self-loathing, and I was talking about self-hatred, self-loathing, where it comes from, and Bruce has said original sin. I think probably that might be the case for many people, definitely. That could be, yeah. So anyway, so that is that, that was, and so, so you do that, and then dedications. Then whatever virtues that we have created, we try to dedicate so that it cannot get destroyed by anger and wrong views. Because our virtues, even though we might have created some virtues, some merit, if it's not being supported by the wisdom, then it can be destroyed by the anger, moment of anger, So, but when we dedicate profoundly, the virtues, then, the anger cannot destroy it fully, Anger cannot destroy it fully. And so therefore we try to dedicate in that way. Also dedicating, when we dedicate in profoundly, then also, it increases the virtues, the merit as well. So here, may whatever virtues I have collected, in the past, present, and futures, especially when you are doing Guru Yoga, of this Guru Yoga, whatever I've collected by especially doing this Guru Yoga practice, may it be benefit the teachings and all transmigrated beings, may it be cause of happiness for all sentient beings or transmigrated beings. And may it be cause of teaching to establish and flourish, because those teachings are the root of happiness of sentient beings. Because through those teachings they study, and through that they practice, and by applying and practicing, then they can transform their mind. By transforming their mind, then they can find inner peace and inner happiness and joy. So to benefit the teachings of transmigrated beings. And in particular, may it cause the essence of perfect, pure Lama Tsongkhapa's teaching to shine forever. And especially here, dedicating for Lama Tsongkhapa's teaching to flourish and shine, because, it is Lama Tsongkhapa teaching one of the most complete teachings. As I mentioned, it has all the teachings in Lama Tsongkhapa. It encompasses all the Theravadan teachings, of Vinayas and Four Noble Truth, all of that. It encompasses all of them. It encompasses all the Mahayana teachings, as well as it encompasses all the Tantric teachings. So it is it has everything all in one. And so, it's a big supermarket. And you have choice. You can try all of them, or you can try something, and I find this helpful, this part, and you can just apply that. you know. But don't we want to have the choice, as many choice, you know, and to see what is most beneficial, what is more effective, what works for me, what doesn't work for me. Instead of having one choice, whether it works or not, that's all you have. I'm sorry. If it works, great, good luck. If it doesn't work, I'm sorry. You know, but wouldn't that be much better when you have choice and you see, you know, let me try this, whether it works or not. Oh, it works for me, I will continue doing that. Let me try this. Oh, this one doesn't work me. Maybe I will just leave it here and I will do the other ones. So, you know, that is the beauty. I always feel and I always share, you know, sometimes when you're studying Tibetan Buddhism and Lama Tsongkhapa's teachings, sometimes we might feel a little bit overwhelmed because there's so much, you know, so much to study, so much to practice, so much, all of that. You might feel a little bit overwhelmed. But once we have, after doing some research, some study, practice, all of that, then you begin to find what works for you and what doesn't work, what is more suitable for you or what is not suitable for that. And once you have found that, you just try to focus on that. And you don't have to be overwhelmed by that, having too much of that, you know. Even I myself, you know, I have not read all the sutras. I have not read all the commentaries. I have not read all, even you know, Tibetan masters, all the teachings in terms of studies, you know. And equally, I haven't done all the practices, you know. But I don't feel overwhelmed by that. I just know what, having studied enough, I know what I need, where I need to focus, and I just try to do that, you know. So, yeah. So any questions? Oh, I think the times. Any questions, please? Any questions, any comments?
Yes, Andrea.
Yes. Is there any questions? To share, something to share?
I think Andrea left.
Okay.
Aria,
No, I would like, sorry, I just thought that, okay, I'm sorry. Then I will go at the end. It's good. Sorry.
Yeah, so.
Ariela.
Thank you, Geshe-la. I feel very fortunate to hear your teachings. Thank you very much. I have a beginner's question in regards to the offerings. I find it a little bit disrespectful to dispose of the water to the sink and the flowers to the trash can. Is it okay to dispose of the water to my plants and the flowers just to put them back in the garden so they can go back to Mother Earth? It's a little bit difficult just in the sink and the trash can. Thank you.
No, definitely. It's wonderful, you know. I think definitely if we can use that water to give a drinking water for the animals, for example. So it's a blessed water for them. And as you mentioned, you can put in the plant as well. You put in the plants or put there for animals to drink, you know. So you can use that. And as we mentioned, the other offerings such as the flower, definitely you can put in your garden disposal. So yeah, so is nothing wrong, is really good to do that. It's better to do that than throwing in the trash. But of course, sometimes we don't have other options than to throw in the trash. And so then that's what we do. Yeah. Most come. Yeah. Any other?
Katarina.
Yes, thank you, Geshe-la, for a kind teaching. I would have two questions. Why is it that you dedicate, that the dedication comes up twice, like during the actual practice and then afterwards again, or is it, yeah?
Well, here, you know, in this actual practice itself, there's one dedications, but then, you know, some other teachers put some practice, other practice, add other practice together, you know. So some of the preliminary practice is added to this practice. And then at the end, there are some practice that is being added to this practice. And so when that some other practice is being added, then again, at the end, you want to kind of end off with that dedications. But the teacher who composed this practice itself, the Ganden Lha Gyama, the 100 Deities from the Tushita, you know, he was one of the disciples of first Dalai Lama. You know, first Dalai Lama was a direct disciple of Lama Tsongkhapa. You know, and it is said during the Lama Tsongkhapa's time, you know, it wasn't written. This practice wasn't written. Lama Tsongkhapa actually gave this practice directly to his disciples, some of his close disciples, as they requested. But they were all passed through kind of orally, you know. And then during the time of these particular teachers, Donapa, you know, Donapa, he was a disciple, first Dalai Lama, disciple of Lama Tsongkhapa, direct disciple. And he felt like if it hadn't been written, then it could be lost, and what it lost, it will be. So he felt like he had to write it down because he didn't want to get it lost. And so that is what he composed this. And that one is very short. But in the practice we have now is kind of being at the beginning, preliminary practice is being added a little bit, you know, and at the end there has been a little bit more practice being added. And so then when that practice is being added, and then at the end there is some more dedications. And so, but of course, you know, we can dedicate all the time, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. We can have bodhicitta motivation as many times as possible. It doesn't have to be 1 time. But in terms of practical, that is why there is 2 like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. And another question is, yeah, I did the practice twice, and once I did it the whole, like the full one, and one just abbreviated. But I wasn't quite sure because the full one is very extensive. Like I know you can even extend it even more, but time-wise, I was thinking more of maybe shortening the practice when I only have maybe 20 minutes or half an hour. So my question is, what is sort of the essential, what are the essential bits that you should be doing, and what maybe is something you could leave out when you don't have the time?
I think when you don't have time, of course, at the very beginning, refuge bodhicitta, spending a little bit more time on that, bodhicitta motivation, because it's important to start with the practice. And then, you know, even you cannot go details of Tushita Pure Land, even you cannot go detail, you just try to, as I mentioned, feel it is there as described. So you don't have to spend so much time there trying to visualize individually each of the qualities of that, you know. So you can just feel it is there in the space as it is just described in the text and the teachings. And so then you don't have to spend so much time there, and then you do the invocations, and you do, and each of those 7 limb practice, you know, maybe you might want to do one of them a little bit more detailed than others. You know, maybe this time you might want to focus on purification a little bit more than others. Next time, maybe you might want to do a little bit more extensive on offerings and not others. Or another time you might want to do more extensive on rejoicing and not others. You know, so you can go all others kind of quickly, and then you can just do one of them, more extensive. And then, you know, the main focus is then when it comes reciting the Mixema, you know, Lama Tsongkhapa's 9 verses, 6 verses, or 5 verses, or 4 verses. There are different versions. You know, there's one with the 9 lines, not verses, sorry. Lama Tsongkhapa, 9 line, there is 6 line, 5 line, 4 line, different versions. And whatever version you use it, you know, 4 line, 5 line, 6 line, you know, and then doing the visualization of purifications and receiving the blessings. So while you are reciting that Lama Tsongkhapa name mantra, you could say, even though maybe it's not the right word, the mantra, we call Mixema, you know. And so you can do that, you know, 1 whole mala, or you can do 21 times, you can do 7 times, you can do 3 times. So, and depending on the time. And so, and then you can do the dedications. And when you have more time, you can do extensive dedication. When we have less time, you can do a short dedications, you know. So even though so many practices have been put here together, it doesn't mean that you have to do each and every of them. Even in dedication, there are so much dedication. You can do just choose one of them and just do one of them when you don't have time, you know. So you don't have to feel that I have to do everything. If I'm not doing everything, that I'm missing something or I'm not doing correctly. That's not the case.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay.
That's how I feel quite often, that I'm not doing it correctly because I'm so new to Tibetan Buddhism. So I don't really find my way around sometimes. And yeah, but
yeah.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure. So yeah. So sometimes in those practice, so many practice there is even time when you don't have them, you know, you just have to do all of them, you know. You can do just one dedications, and you know that's good enough. So, and that is not wrong to do that, or incorrect to do that. Okay, and even in sadhana, there are many traditions, you know, like His Holiness often share, and also His Holiness, he also does that way, you know, and it's a tradition of Kagyu Rinpoche, Lama Tsongkhapa's main disciples. And sometimes he wouldn't even recite the prayers. He just he know what is there, each step of the all practice, and he just go through in his mind like that, you know. Sadhana of any kind of deities, you know. So you don't actually have to read it, you know. So that is also not incorrect, you know. It's a different way of doing, you know. So yeah. Then any one last questions? Yeah.
Yes.
And then if you have more question, we will have for the next, you can write it down and keep it for the next time, okay?
So I have a few questions, but I will ask them just one question for now. Thank you, Geshe-la. Thank you very much. It was fantastic. So my question is about the mudras, because in this sadhana, I saw there are mudras and the vajra and bell. What do you need? What kind of, I don't know, permission if in a sadhana to use these things?
Yeah, you know, normally using dorje and bell, they are kind of tantric, vajrayana kind of symbolic kind of things. So normally, you know, but I guess there's not a wrong to use even you don't have initiations and like that, because it's part of music offering, you know. So it's part of music offerings. So we use the bell as a part of offering the music. So from that perspective, I don't think it would be wrong, incorrect, even you don't have the highest yoga initiations to use it, because you just use it as a form of offering music, you know. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It's my pleasure. Okay, so then, yeah, we do the final dedications. Again, we can dedicate all our virtues that we have created, past, present, futures, and today, you know, for the Dharma to flourish and to be rooted in the heart of each and every sentient beings. And may His Honorable Lama Rinpoche and the whole holy beings have a long, healthy life, all their wishes be fulfilled. And may we be under their care and guidance in this life, in the in all future life. And may we be able to follow their perfect example and actualize the teachings and the practice within our mind. And may those who have not actualized the bodhicitta mind and wisdom, may they all be able to actualize within their mind. Those who have already actualized, not diminish, but increase more and more. And may we be able to achieve fully enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. Yawa di nyudu da ama sangye do gyone doa chiga ma ba de sala kweba chanjo sanjo rinpoche ma ke pa na ke yawa nyamba me ba kong le kong do pe wa kande ra we ko e singo pen don de wa jere so tenzin ga so shabe side ba do kenje tu du zang ji zang bon ke zinyo pe ku zo to so son ku le ma to do ta zo du je ko du sha so. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Geshe-la.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Geshe-la.
And, I think I speak on all everyone's behalf that we are so blessed to be receiving these teachings from you. So thank you, Geshe-la. And thank you to everyone for joining us tonight, and see you next Friday, which is, however, the last of these 4 sessions. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Please write the questions, if you have any question for the last class. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Geshe-la.
you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
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 Thank you. Bye-bye.